you can get championship points. That's one of the reasons why players are really excited to get involved in the local scene and here in the regional championship series. Marcos Shiny and Jimmy NAMIKAZE, they're also here in Stuttgart, and they'll be looking to progress as far as they can in this tournament. Are you familiar with either of these players?
Marco's also a fellow streamer on
Yes.
on Twitch as well. He streams a lot of Go Battle League, trying to hit the legend rank. And then we have Jimmy. Do you know any of these trainers?
I have played against both of these players, both in the Go Battle League, but I've also played against Marcos Shiny in the Play Pokemon Championship Series as well. A long time ago. I think it maybe Barcelona a couple of years ago was the last time I remember playing against him, but he's a very strong player and he's been improving rapidly. He's got a great community that has been backing him and supporting him, and Jimmy NAMIKAZE on the other side as well. He's a player that is very involved. He's always getting involved in watching the championship series, and now he's got an opportunity to compete on stream here, and he will be running a lot of Pokemon that we recognize from the previous meta, Azumarill and Jumpluff, and we hear that Jumpluff cry immediately as these players get into the battle. It's up against a shiny Furret on the side of Marcos Shiny.
Yeah, Mario Gully probably happy seeing a Jumpluff here, one of his favorite Pokemon, but this is advantageous for the Jumpluff, being slightly more bulky and having great charge moves with a stab as well, same type attack bonus. Fred goes for the Swift here, does a little bit of damage, not too much, but here we go, Jimmy NAMIKAZE going for the Energy Ball, it's a really heavy damage move.
And it's interesting that Jumpluff these days is running Energy Ball. It used to run Aerial Ace and Acrobatics. Aerial Ace received a nerf in the Tales of Transformation attack update, so players are opting for Energy Ball instead. We saw the Furret mirror, and now Marcos Shiny jumps out into his Wigglytuff. Wigglytuff, a Fairy type and Normal type Pokemon. It takes resisted damage from the Dark type Sucker Punches, so Jimmy NAMIKAZE going to throw a Trailblaze to try and put a little bit more pressure.
Yeah, having the Trailblaze here is really nice, boosting up these Swifts coming in. Otherwise, that does much damage, but now with the Trailblaze boost, the Swift will add up. It doesn't be able to Sucker Punch it down, but the Wigglytuff still gets to a move and shows a Swift here on actually not the greatest time, but actually good time, because now the Sucker Punch won't do any damage because
Swift lands and it takes out that Furret, and Jimmy NAMIKAZE absolutely happy to come in with the Jumpluff. It's a non-Shadow Jumpluff, so it has that extra bulk, running Aerial Ace and Energy Ball here, and Furret, the shiny Furret, throwing a Swift. And I think it's a really interesting decision. I'd love to hear more from Jimmy NAMIKAZE as to why he's opted for Aerial Ace rather than Acrobatics, perhaps just for that pacing, but losing the really strong Acrobatics is it's a little bit of a loss for the Jumpluff, but perhaps Jimmy NAMIKAZE has some other strategies in mind. Yeah,
I went for the charge move priority there, which Furret wins. So I don't think Jimmy is really happy here, and I assume the Empoleon obviously comes in, and it is a great opportunity for Empoleon to get some energy, and obviously you can see there's an Azumarill in the back, but he goes for the Aerial Ace bait here, and he's gonna call it, no, he's not gonna call it, he puts up the shield.
Yeah, shield there is a great shield for Jimmy NAMIKAZE to have pulled away from that Empoleon, and now comes in with this Azumarill, and Azumarill generally doesn't have a great matchup against Empoleon, because Empoleon is a water and steel type Pokemon. That means it resists the water type bubble, it resists the fairy type play rough, and it double resists the ice type Ice Beam on the side of Azumarill. In Azumarill's favor, it is just immensely bulky.
Yeah, everything is resisted, like you mentioned, on the Azumarill. Even if the Azumarill has Hydro Pump, it's slightly better for the Azumarill, but obviously it's still so much resisted damage here. As you can see, the Play Rough is going to be thrown here. Marcos Shiny up to Nut Shield here. He knows like he can easily survive this Play Rough.
Yeah, this is a regular Empoleon, not even a Shadow variant, so the bubbles do slightly less, the Play Roughs do slightly less, and every metal sound that goes through gets Empoleon that much closer to the buffed Drill Peck. It received a damage increase this season, and Empoleon has been a great Pokemon in this Tales of Transformation meta. We saw it do really well in Lille, and Marcos Shiny, I think this is his first event of the 2026 season, and he is taking full advantage of Empoleon's prowess already.
But that's a really bulky Azumarill holding on there on the Drill Peck and knowing perfectly his Pokemon. And since he threw the bait earlier, it doesn't get to the Aerial Ace, unfortunately, and the Empoleon farms down the Jumpluff.
And this is what happens. Aerial Ace receives a nerf, and it isn't able to give Jimmy NAMIKAZE...
The trainer stopped tapping there, they forgot, I think. The Pokemon on the screen.
Marcos Shiny there, eventually metal sounding down a shiny Azumarill on the side of Jimmy Namikaze. That means it is 1-0 for Marcos Shiny. One more win needed for him, and he will progress on the winner's side of this bracket. This is round 2 in Group A again. Jimmy Namikaze, what adjustments can he make? That jump up, still such an interesting pick. Perhaps a peculiar pick in this meta.
Yeah, a lot of variety, I would say, actually. After seeing game 1, we see an Azumarill, which, I mean, it's always been there. Azumarill always been good, right? And then we see Jumpluff, and then we see a Fortress as well, we haven't seen. But we see Furret. I mean, Furret is pretty much coming up here in this tournament, it seems.
Furret is just such a brilliant pick. I remember when Furret was first buffed, and I tried to tell people, I was like, Furret looks really flexible. I think it's going to achieve a lot of medals in its time, but it took a little bit of a while before people really started leaning into it. I think we saw a real rise in Ghost usage for a long time, and then all of a sudden, when Furret was realized to be one of the best Ghost responses, particularly against Pokemon like Diggersby as the other opposing normal, but then the Galarian Corsola, when Furret could take on both, I think that's when it really started to see usage rise. And now, post Diggersby nerf, Furret seems to be the best normal type in the meta, maybe alongside Wigglytuff as well because of that fairy subtyping.
Yeah, it seemed like they listened to you saying that Furret was going to be so strong.
Sometimes they eventually do, sometimes.
Yeah, but the trainers are currently locking in. Let's see what they're going to bring into this game. We said the game number 2 right here. We have Talonflame into the Fortress. What a great lead from Marcos Shiny here.
A superb lead for Marcos Shiny. Jimmy Namikaze immediately getting out of there. And if my eyes don't deceive me, I actually believe Jimmy Namikaze is the player that has a full line of 3 shiny Pokemon.
What a great flex of this trainer right here. We see that for going for the Swifter on the Talonflame, opting not to shield here. What the Furret also is going to put up a shield on the Talonflame. I think it doesn't have a really great response. It tried to go into his Wigglytuff, but the timing for the Furret was perfect there to be able to not swap out.
Wigglytuff now coming in. It is able to resist those dark-type sucker punches. As we say, Jimmy Namikaze is going for his first Swift. Swift will do quite a lot of damage to the Wigglytuff, but will a second Swift be enough to knock out? It doesn't look like it will, so there's no need for Marcos Shiny to put up a shield. He preserves both shields for the later stages of this game.
Yeah, this is a great matchup for Wigglytuff. Not having any damage from the Sucker Punch here, and he's able to charm down this Furret. And here comes the Fortress, and Fortress is actually on Bug Bite, not on Volt Switch, so I think the Talonflame is really happy here.
Well, do you know what's interesting? If this Fortress is able to Bug Bite down this Fairy-type Wigglytuff, it is a resisted attack, remember, but it means that the Fortress might be able to reach a Rock Tomb against that Talonflame. The Talonflame has taken some damage already, but Rock Tomb is a double super effective attack, and these Swifts in the meantime from Wigglytuff don't do very much against the Steel typing of Fortress. So maybe we see Azumarill come in now. The Univern Stunfisk comes in, but the Fortress could potentially have some real play in the back, particularly if Azumarill is able to start getting shields down with this super effective Ice Beam.
Yeah, this is a pretty neutral matchup for both Pokemon, dealing both super effective damage, the Bubble from Azu and the Ice Beam for Azumarill. And then we have Stunfisk with this Thundershock Discharge, which has great pacing, by the way, 5-4.
Now, Azumarill's matchup into Stunfisk, despite Stunfisk having the electric type pressure from both Thundershock and Discharge, Azumarill's sheer bulk means it is actually able to be absolutely fine in this matchup. The Bubbles and the Ice Beam together really, really do add up.
Yeah, but it's so slow in this matchup. You only be able to throw one Ice Beam, it still haven't reached a second one, and while the Stunfisk is showing Discharge after Discharge.
Interesting there for Jimmy Namikaze to immediately throw an Ice Beam, perhaps with the intention of then going straight into the Fortress as fast as he can. Yes, he does do that. He's going to go into the Fortress, and he's going to throw a Sand Tomb. It's caught by the Talonflame. Now, this is interesting. The Talonflame didn't get an Incinerate through. That means Sand Tomb will knock out. So Marcos Shiny's going to put up a shield to try and get the Incinerate through, but he isn't able to throw the Flame Charge. Does a massive amount of damage, and now can this Fortress reach a Sand Tomb before the Univern Stunfisk reaches another Mud Bomb? This first one will draw the Protect Shield from Jimmy Namikaze. It is a race to that final charge attack.
Bug biting down on Talonflame was truly amazing to see. And here Fortress gets to the Sand Tomb. What amazing showcase of Fortress. Fortress leading into Talonflame and still be able to pull out this game is crazy.
Do you know what this means? Fortress is a Shadow Talonflame answer confirmed.
Confirmed, yeah. Not even with Volt Switch, with Bug Bite. That was insane. That was insane. can't believe it was able to farm down Talonflame. Only took one Incinerate, still hold on, and then not able to get to the Flame Charge, and having that energy was truly amazing showcase of Fortress, what he can do with his energy.
Yeah, Incinerate did land on the Fortress, but Marcos Shiny didn't quite have enough health on the Shadow Talonflame to be able to throw the Flame Charge. That allowed Jimmy NAMIKAZE to throw Sand Tomb into Talonflame and into Univern Stunfisk in that end game and seal out the equalizing game of this winners round 2 match. 1 game apiece. The winner of this final game 3 will progress on the winner side of the bracket here in Stuttgart.
Yeah, having him safe swapping the Ferret, right? The pivot on the Ferret, being able to get to the Swift pretty quickly. Marcos Shiny was like, what should I do here? And then the Ferret got to the Swift, and then like all the damage from the Swift, actually a lot of damage on the Talonflame. And the Talonflame was so low at that point that in the end the Fortress was able to farm down the Talonflame.
What are your thoughts on Fortress? I know you're a big Shadow Sizzle fan. What's the opposing Seal Bug like in your mind?
I mean, it's okay, I guess, but Scizor just looks cooler, so...
I mean, this one is shiny.
It is shiny, yeah, but I mean...
Does that make a difference in your mind? Are you a shiny fan?
Only when it's Scizor, yeah.
Well, these players, they both look like they are shiny fans. Marcos, shiny on the left. Jimmy NAMIKAZE with so many shiny Pokemon on the right. We see a Furret lead into the Empoleon. What can Empoleon do here? It will always win charge attack priority against a Furret, and this Hydro Cannon will do a decent amount of damage.
Yeah, Empoleon getting to these Hydro Cannons rather quickly. The Ferret can only actually throw a Trailblaze here. And then Marcos Shiny goes on his Ferret. It has a mirror match. We have a shiny Ferret mirror match here, Farid.
Shiny mirror match is such a beautiful thing to see. I wish I had a shiny Ferret. I don't think I even do. But this almost reminds me of the old Lickitung mirrors that we used to see, except it's a little bit more bearable because they're doing neutral Sucker Punch into each other. Jimmy NAMIKAZE now smartly coming in with the Fortress, able to double resist the Grass-type Trailblaze because it looks like Marcos Shiny is just hoping for more Sucker Punch damage instead.
Yeah, he wants to get as much damage in as possible and goes for an auto Trailblaze. Even though it's double resist, that you just think about the Sucker Punch damage you get through. And look at how low this Fortress already is.
I think Swift might have been the better option there, but it looks like another Sucker Punch does land, so Marcos Shiny gets a little bit of value from the Furret, able to take the Fortress deep into the yellow. And now, Jimmy NAMIKAZE, he doesn't run Earthquake on this Fortress, so he's going to throw super effective Sand Tomb, but it's such a low damage attack that it doesn't draw a shield from Marcos Shiny. And it looks like Marcos Shiny is going to go for that catch onto the Wigglytuff. I like this play, getting a little bit of energy on the Empoleon, and now looking to sponge on the Wigglytuff. Fortress otherwise would have been an answer to a Wigglytuff, but it was such low health that Jimmy NAMIKAZE forced to go into his own Azumarill.
Yeah, we have the battle of the fairy types right here. Wigglytuff into Azumarill. Wigglytuff opts to go for the Swift here, which is some neutral damage, but Wigglytuff gets to the Swift pretty fast. 5 charms to get to the first one, 4 for the second one. So it's rather like a neutral matchup, I would say, but the charms do add up.
Ice Beam now coming in from this Azumarill. It is going to draw a shield from Marcos Shiny. It probably wouldn't be enough to threaten a knockout on its own, but with that residual bubble damage, it could have put a little bit more pressure onto the Wigglytuff. The Wigglytuff has a bow. It doesn't make a difference in PvP, only in our hearts. Swift now coming through. It takes the shield from the shiny Azumarill, and Jimmy NAMIKAZE reaching his second Ice Beam, about to land unless a shield goes up. It doesn't.
Yeah, it was a charged attack priority, which Wigglytuff does win. And here comes back in with the Empoleon, and here comes the Fortress, and Empoleon already reached a move.
Empoleon has an attack ready. Jimmy NAMIKAZE doesn't have a lot of energy on this Fortress, so I'd be surprised to see him shield. He is going to let this Fortress go, and now he's got the opportunity to come in either with Furret or with the Azumarill, but bear in mind Azumarill has resisted attacks only, so he's going to come in with Furret, but the metal sounds are already adding up against this Furret. They're both leaning as far as they can. Trailblaze now coming through. Question is, will another Sucker Punch land? But do you now just commit to your Azumarill? Because you're now able to bubble down this Empoleon if you need to.
Yeah, do keep in mind, Jimmy still has a shield up. He has an Azumarill, which is slightly... and then we'd see the farm down with the bubble on the Wigglytuff there. There was some great showcase from the Empoleon, but still Furret, again, pulled off this win.
Empoleon not able to hold on. Marcos Shiny tried to shield it, tried to get as much energy as possible to throw into the Azumarill in the endgame. Azumarill, no matter what happens, day on day, month on month, year on year, Azumarill remains king. Jimmy NAMIKAZE driving it to success as he wins this winners round 2, 2 games to 1.
Yeah, and he does his name perfectly right there. Marcos Shiny winning with the shiny Furret. I mean, yeah, couldn't be better, right?